want to read you to you and our audience from Waj's piece, because this is one of the paragraphs that really stood out to me. You write this. It's also remarkable that so many religious leaders came together to speak with one voice on this particular issue, which one could falsely assume from the current political hysteria is the leading threat facing children. But as anyone who's been part of the recent debates within broader Muslim American communities knows, you'd probably never get this kind of concerted public statement from Muslim leaders on the issue of gun violence, the leading cause of death for American children, or climate change, which ultimately threatens all life. Somehow, though, this issue has managed to rally an array of Muslim scholars. And I just that paragraph to me is, my God, what the fuck is so terrifying about queer people wanting to exist in their bodies, to exist without oppression, to exist without fear of violence, whether it be physical or emotional? Like, what is so terrifying about the 100 transgender youth athletes? What is so terrifying about people, young people, not wanting to accept the binary that we've all just blindly walked into and been like, well, you pop out of the uterus and it's a pink hat or it's a blue hat, from the moment you're taking your first fucking breath. And we just think that shit is normal. And so, to me, the threat and their guise around religion is that they do not want young people to have bodily autonomy or critical thought, because that critical thought and that bodily autonomy pushes against their quote unquote traditional values of brainwashing, of grooming the next generation of either traditional Muslims or white evangelical Christians or what have you, because you have people that are going to ask questions like, why? Like, why are we doing things in this way? Why can't I just exist? And I think it's amazing that we have historic storm after historic storm. Haven't heard Muslim groups come together to talk about climate change. We have one mass shooting after mass shooting. And when, and again, if the mass shooting were to take place at the hands of a person that was Muslim, they're immediately a terrorist. And the whole community has to come out and disavow this one person because of Fox and Newsmax and QAnon. So I'm just confused by their blatant denial of the oppression and discrimination that they have faced in order to have the score of being able to oppress those others.
So this is what's happening on the DL, and I can explain the politics behind it. First and foremost, when I talk to some of these folks, they live in their privileged cocoons, and they have the audacity to say that somehow I'm in the bubble, which is hilarious to me. And many of them have said the following. It's fascinating, Danielle. 9/11 was a long time ago. I think you guys are still traumatized by it. These are the people who are in the, my friends and I have been talking about this as a community, and we're very diverse communities, and I'll talk about that in a second. We're so far away removed from 9/11 that we've become too comfortable. And us old heads have been telling our community members, all it takes, like you said, is one Muslim extremist, and they are, it doesn't even take that. Just listen to Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert right now. But we're telling you, all it takes is one, and a certain political climate, and one political movement, the right wing, and that's it. It's done. Just like that. And they're like, you guys are too traumatized. I was young when 9/11 happened. We're okay. And then you say, okay, well, just for a second, suppose if Republicans win.
Wow.
Suppose, okay, they'll win over you with the gays, the anti-gay stuff. But what about, I don't know, going after Social Security, Medicare, taking away food stamps, right? Nothing about climate change. And this is what it boils down to, Danielle, because we've pushed them on this, like a lot of my friends who are practicing Muslims. Doesn't affect me.
So they don't breathe air.
It really boils down to this, Danielle. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't affect me. I live in the suburbia. I'm, middle class. I'm upper middle class. I'll be okay. without realizing it, without saying it. What they're saying is, I think whiteness will protect me, until it doesn't. Now, what's happening internally within these Muslim communities is the following, and you really hit it on the nail. Need for control, need for power, fear that the center will not hold. All of her traditions that we've worked hard for, these liberals have come with their liberal queer agenda, and they're going to make our kids gay, and my son's going to be a girl, and he's going to chop off his penis, and my daughter is going to be a lesbian, and she's going to have a threesome, and everything that we've worked hard for, just like that overnight, is going to go away, and they're not going to listen to us. And also what's happening, I can tell you this, just like what's happening with MAGA and happens with politics, there's a small group that has accused these individuals who, by the way, when you talk to these people who signed this document, which I mentioned in the piece, this ridiculous document, completely unnecessary document, by the way, they're getting pressured by those who are too, like the MAGA, there's what I call the MAGA Muslims. You are too weak on this issue. You have sold out. And there's a few funders, does it sound like politics? It's always politics, folks, who have pressured them so as to not appear weak and sellouts. They have had to now perform and double down on this particular issue to win over those detractors. You follow me, Danielle? And the funny thing is, as a result of it, they're still called sellouts. Just imagine the Republicans. It's like no matter how hard right they go, they still call them rhinos. So in order to appease this small fringe group that is accusing them of being lightweight and weak and liberal, they have come out hard on this issue, not realizing that they have aligned now themselves with this right-wing group. And what they also say, Danielle, is, and you see this happening, these scholars, Wajahat has aligned himself with the woke ideology. I'm like, can you define woke?
I saw your Twitter feed comments were hot. And I was like, wow, these people are really coming for him. And for
power. And they're really coming for me right now. They're really coming for me.
And the reason being, because all you do is pose the truth and then ask them follow-up questions. It's really not, you're not pointing fingers. You're just saying, so how is it that you care about this issue and not mass shootings? How is it that you are aligning with this group that not 20 years ago, a little over 20 years ago, turned you into scapegoats? Or I'm sorry, just 7 years ago with the Trump administration wanted to block you from entry into this country. Like, I'm so confused about where you are finding common ground, and that your kids have been in school for how fucking long? Have books scared them at this point? Like, have they run out of the school building screaming, oh my God, Mary has two moms? Like, has anything actually changed other than the fear mongering that these people that moved into gated communities and shrunk their lives and created these, bordered spaces, they have allowed the fear to seep in. And they've allowed these people to say, well, if you align with us, we'll protect you. And I'm like, are you dumb?
And then you know what they say, Danielle? Oh, no, we're not that dumb as you think we are. We're sophisticated. On this issue, only we're aligning it. But on other issues, we're aligning with, we'll align with Democrats. And then it's also, what's really tragic about is this both sides talking point that emerged in 2016 that kept some of these people away from voting for Clinton. They say the same thing. Well, the left hates us and the right hates us and both sides hate us, but at least we won't go to hell. At least the right believes in God. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, and so it's the disinformation campaign, the right-wing manufactured campaign against the gays, which has worked also with a lot of folks against Muslims, as we know, worked with some gay conservatives, right? It's this fear. It's this need for power. It's this going towards whiteness. And also, I would like to say this. Look, people might not know this. I've shared this. I am a practicing Muslim. The funny thing is if people actually knew, I'm much more traditional than most of these guys. I'm married to one woman. I got 3 kids. I pray. I fast. I've done Hajj. I take my religion seriously, folks, right? And they have made me out to be like this crazy, hard, woke, progressive flame. They can't even define these things, because if you look at the piece, I have a very nuanced take. I'm like, onto me, my way, onto you, yours, right? We don't have to agree on everything, but we live in America. And pluralism requires reciprocity. I'm like, if you really, right now, I didn't say this in the piece because I ran out of space, but I'm like, if you really don't want your kid to go to drag queen, library reading, don't take them. Like,
Right.
I was talking to another friend of mine. I'm like, yo, we got kids who go to public schools. We live in here in Virginia. I swear to God, Danielle, I don't even know when the drag queens come and like teach. Like, I will have to Google this, right? And my wife and I were talking. If a drag queen is there reading a book, we'll ask our kids, hey, you want to see this? And like, if they say yes, great. If they say no, we'll go get ice cream. It really isn't that big of a deal. And what they also don't realize, Danielle, and my friend said this, who's a Muslim writer, this same sword they're using against LGBTQ, guess what's happening? It's being used against Muslim books.